welcome back. We're here for a new episode of The Incongruent, and this is really, really exciting episode as we really build on this human AI interaction, talking about stories that people really want to hear about AI. And joining me today, I have my sage voice, Imna.
Hello, I am the sage.
Yes. It's just because I name Imna the sage voice because apparently she knows a lot more than me. So there we go. Yes. And she's also about this particular topic indeed because she's actually an author. And today we're talking about books, aren't we, Imna?
We are, and stop telling everybody that I'm an author, Steve. I don't have any published anything out there, but watch this space. Maybe someday that might change. But also, very interestingly, we went ahead and spoke to Julie Trelstad.
Julie Trelstad is the USA publishing lead for a company called Amlet, which is like Hamlet without the H. Yeah, because apparently you'll find out the secret for that later on in the episode if you listen carefully. So Julie has joined this AI registry, which helps to protect authors' rights and copyrights, and does it all for books, which I think is very fantastic, isn't that right, Nimna?
It is indeed very fantastic. And I think in a world where we are rushing headstrong into AI and basically the question of who owns what has everybody dumbfounded and confused, and future creators even hesitant to put their stuff out there for fear of it being stolen. Amlet is honestly going to be its saving grace. And so it was really insightful to have that conversation with her. And I think I'm personally super excited to see where that goes in the future. Because regulatory AI is something that we've talked about before, and I think will continue to be a theme
Yeah.
throughout future episodes as well.
Yes, it will. So if everyone's ready for this, get ready, and here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back for another week of Incongruent. It's the chaotic duo once again. It's Steve and Imna, and today we are joined by the amazing Julie Trelstad. She's currently the founder of Amlet AI. And we're going to be talking books today. We've had all sorts of different interesting topics in the last few weeks. And this might just be my personal favorite. I also personally really enjoy writing um, and dabbling in it. I can't really say anything to how good the writing is, but Julie, we are so excited to talk to you today. So, can you tell us first off a bit about yourself and a bit about Amlet AI? What
Yeah.
exactly is it?
Well, I want to clarify too that I'm not the founder. I'm the head of the U.S. publishing at Amlet, and my co-founders are in Milan and in Germany. Or I'm not the co-founder; they are in Milan and Germany. I have been working in book publishing for over 30 years, and I studied architecture, but then I acquired and edited architecture books for 15 years before I became more of a generalist. And in the early 2000s, I insanely started my own publishing company, which went out of business as soon as Borders in the United States went out of business. But since then, I've really been working in the digital space. I've done digital rights at the literary agency. I've been helping authors move through the birth of self-publishing and becoming independent authors, and also taking advantage of the other technologies. And now I'm so excited to be working in AI and publishing but from a very human perspective, like how is AI going to help human authors get paid and for their work, and also to have a wider reach?
Fantastic. So, how did you really end up with Amlet AI? How did it all begin? Did you just wake up one day and think, "Hey, why not AI in books?" Or
Why
what?
not? It really came out of the co-founders are in Europe, and it came out of largely, and it's interestingly, they're both book and coders at the same time. And they realized that books were invisible to the AIs, to search systems. ISBNs, which are the book identifiers, are not recognizable. Copyright is not machine recognizable. None of it is. So there was no easy way for developers or even software itself to interface with books. And then through the European Union has the Copyright Act that requires any developer or programmer to pay authors and creators for their work, yet there was no way to document this. And so it was a complete mismatch between what the software wanted to do and what authors could do. So, I've always been bugged by the fact that you can't look up an ISBN and get the book. Like, there's really no connection. So that's exactly where it came out of, between that need and the EU regulations.
So I have a similar problem because a couple of my papers are published in ISBN conference proceedings, and it's so hard even using the ISBN databases to find them and where they come up with. So I feel the pain there. Now, you've seen publishing reinvent itself multiple times.
Yes.
What parallels do you see between early digital publishing revolution? You mentioned the Borders.
Borders went out of business. Yeah, that was happening at the same time as Amazon was on the rise. So I think that the major thing is almost like these things happened at the same time. So ebooks came along in the 90s. Amazon came up. But the other thing that was happening in the 1990s was this massive consolidation of the major publishers. In the United States, we went from having over 100 sort of robust, medium to large size publishers today, where we only have 5 large ones and maybe 20 that are, sort of moderately sized. So there was like this, and it was really, I think it has to do with a lot of market forces and technology. And the way businesses were run, everything was mergers and acquisitions. And so the industry got smaller. At the same time, the new technology with ebooks allowed authors to become independent, and anyone just, to have a very low cost of entry to publish a book by publishing an ebook or using print on demand technology, where you can just upload the PDF and it'll get printed to order, instead of having to have a huge amount of inventory. That was hugely disruptive. And that was like 20 some years ago. And I think that this is very similar, because it's all of a sudden publishers had, before the 1990s, not even had rights to sell ebooks. So when ebooks became available, anything that was published before 1991 was fair game. And so Amazon, KDP Publishing sucked up a bunch of them. A few other publishers or enterprising just bought all these ebook rights up, leaving the publishers flat-footed. And I think this. So what's happening in AI now is that we think that within 10 years or even sooner, all of your books are going to be sort of within an AI container. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but they'll be discovered by that. And these explicit rights to how AIs can use your books is in nobody's contract right now. So it's sort of setting off a whole new race to how are authors going to get paid, who's going to be the one to really monetize the situation.
We're looking at something like a Netflix for books.
Yes.
All right. And with the technology, we're going to be able to have all the different affordances. So you're going to have audiobooks in there as well, I suppose. And you're already seeing in things like Notebook LM how it's able to turn very complicated texts into videos. So you're going to have a lot of funky things going on there. But what was the moment or the main problem that you thought, thank you, Amazon?
There it is. Amazon, that's the problem.
Curse you, Amazon. Curse you, Amazon. We can edit this down. That's good. So, but what was the moment or the problem that convinced you that we needed an AI registry to fix this?
Well, it's exactly that Spotify, this, that people can't get paid. And I think for me, it really came to bear with when we learned about the massive piracy that was happening, that these AI companies, as I said, they didn't know that they couldn't find an easy way to get a hold of these books. And so they went to piracy databases and they just sucked them all in. And then they, like, the lawsuits, the Claude lawsuit, the Anthropic lawsuit, was settled for $1.8 billion, affording approximately $3,000 per book that was scraped in the after fact. But publishers are now beginning to make deals. The larger of those 5 publishers are making deals with the AI companies to license their work. But there's no standard for it. There's no easy way. So Amlet is a registry that will allow you to create a digitally recognizable fingerprint of your work so that they don't have to pirate it. They can just, pay you or know that it belongs to you and know who to send the check to.
That's really interesting because, many authors also feel that AI will steal their voice. And this is kind of almost a practical example of that happening. So, from your perspective, what does that really look like in practical terms to ethically harness AI in this industry? Like, what does that really mean for publishers and creators?
For publishers and creators, I mean, there's really two things we're looking at here in terms of what AI is doing with books. There's sort of input, which is like when the LL models are being built, they just like eat massive amounts of books, just like swallow it whole. And then they make mathematical equations of it. That's input licensing. And it's not necessarily recognizable to an author, right? In order to get something that is recognizable, you would have to say, I would like, you prompt it and say, I would like to write a book in the style of my favorite romance writer. And then it does. And that is what we would call output, right? So there is a significant similarity between the output of this work. And if somebody were to go publish it and it was, say, 90% similar, 80% similar to this other writer's work, and using Amlet, you'll be able to identify like the level of similarity between somebody's output and yours. And I think if you look at sort of the Disney lawsuits where they're saying like the AI art is looking, geez, a lot like Disney characters, and your eyes can even recognize that, that's from the output, not, the input is there in a big soup, but it's only the fact that somebody would output a character that is otherwise copyrighted or so close to a character that it's a problem.
Interesting. So, if large language models then need to get better at imitation, then what really is left for the human side of things? What's distinct about that in terms of storytelling and even editing, really?
Well, it's what interesting is that AI doesn't like things that are weird or quirky or creative. Like, if you like ask it, if you kind of like you're a very creative writer and you have a very distinctive voice, and you ask the AI to like edit you, it'll like smooth it all out and try to make it sound like everybody else. I think that sort of unique individuality, is something that individual authors have. It comes out in their voice, it comes out in their tone. And that if it is a distinctive voice, you don't, who wants to copy that? Because everyone wants their own distinctive voice, I suppose. You don't necessarily want to sound like somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that reminds me of this essay that I was typing up this week, and Grammarly just kept trying to change everything I wrote, and it was driving me absolutely insane. And if I had accepted all of those changes, I think by the end of it, my essay would have looked like something straight out of ChatGPT. And so I can see now why a lot of universities are actually forbidding the use of generative AI completely when it comes to certain creative modules where you have to really think about things for yourself, write your own perspectives where you're coming from. And that is really what you're being assessed on. It's not something that can be artificially created or put together by another man or machine. That just would not make sense.
Yeah.
And so, thinking about the people in the industry, you've also built a massive network yourself. So, if you could just put out some feelers and look at the kind of the general way that AI is being received in the industry right now, what would you say it is? Are people panicking? Do they think they're going to lose their jobs? Or are they kind of inviting this new change out of curiosity?
I would say all of the above, but the general feeling in books and literature is that AI is the devil. I mean, I've gotten some, like, I've been trying to reach out to some people, especially the small presses, literary, the very high creatives, express the same thing that you were saying too, that it is really going to destroy us. It's going to destroy writing. And yeah, it does make writing easier, but it doesn't make it better. And then, in the larger sense, like piracy is a big problem. Like the major publishers put out a book. I was talking to an author recently who published a book in September, and by October, there were 5 copies of the book written by AI, no discernible author, competing with her book on Amazon. So like this is trying to clamp down on this and these imitators that seem so like legit until you look under the cover a little bit. Yeah, that's a big problem. But people, in the industry are looking at opportunities as well.
So I've seen similar things and I've experienced similar things. I've come and approached a graphic designer who was very young, just about Imna's age, and she was very hostile towards the whole idea of me bringing AI. Being the devil is the correct thing. I was on a call earlier this week on Monday where the lecturer was giving a talk to one of the Swedish schools, and he was telling us all how to resist AI in ed tech. It was the same kind of thing. And I've just published this morning 20 reasons why people are concerned about AI on my LinkedIn page. And I could have gone further and further.
Yeah.
But I use AI for doing some creative literature work.
I do too.
I do. And I produce a desktop role-playing game, and I'm trying to produce something for Kickstarter. And I'm using for images, and I'm helping it to meet with the rules, and I'm plugging in. There's a lot of my input that goes into this,
Exactly.
And when it comes out, I'm editing it and I'm formatting everything, and I'm making it look beautiful, and I'm play testing it all. So, and I don't see any problem with it. But I think the reason that I don't see a problem is because I've grown up when I've become mature in the usage. So if you were teaching someone to get used to AI, like one of these people, what is the one AI literacy skill you think people should be taught so that they can operate in this future? Because AI is not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I actually work with authors, and we use a lot of AI in our marketing practices. And the thing we talk about a lot is discernment. And, the one thing that I am doing more of with my AI is slowing it down. I even give it instructions to like give me one piece at a time, because what I'm finding is that like it goes so fast, and that I can't, it's so easy to just answer that next, oh, would you like me to do this report? Would you like me to continue this? And it's more like, be very deliberate in the way that you're using it. And then, the one more tactical thing that I would teach sort of in the same thing is to create your one master prompt file, so that you have your instructions, so you keep yourself and the AI literally on the same page. Like it's just a one-page document that contains all the objectives that you want to achieve, and that you use that and keep editing that and remind it, and use it when you start a new chat, if it's for a particular project.
That's really clever. So that's like managing the AI as if you would manage, like they say, a very keen but inexperienced intern, right? That's what you
Exactly.
do. This is my checklist of things. Have you done it? Check it off. Yeah, brilliant.
And slow down.
Slow down. I agree. I mean, in one of my other talks, when I do this, it's a big incentive for you to spend money on new things, because it does go so quickly that the roadblock becomes a paywall somewhere, firewall somewhere, and you have to pay to get through that wall. And because the AI has got you there so quickly, you feel like you don't want to. You're running with it. You don't want to slow the AI down. So you end up, rather than waiting, you end up spending a bit more money rather than wait for the next day for the new credits to come through. So yeah, slowing down is a really good option. Imna, what's next?
Well, I'm wondering, since we talked about the threat that AI potentially poses, if it's not really a threat, then maybe it's a chance to reset the creative economy. So, Julie, what hope do you have that this new phase can actually empower creators instead of exploit them?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what's entirely behind Amlet, is this concept that authors and creators own their content, and they can declare it to any machine or any person. And that if that content has high value, that people will pay for it. And, Amlet even allows you to register your book down to the chunk or the token, like a single paragraph or an image in that. And that, so just for that Spotify reason, if an AI uses any piece or portion of that book, that author can continue to get paid. And so, I just think that with information being the currency of the world, that, being an independent creator and not having your work stolen by, larger entities, but being able to be the one who is completely in charge of who's allowed to use it and for what purposes, and making sure that you get compensated fairly for that transaction.
I just need to push on the technology here, because you mentioned it at the beginning and you mentioned it again here. Is this blockchain, or how are you doing this?
It's definitely related to, publishers hate that word, but yes, it is a blockchain distributed network. So it's decentralized database where your information is stored. And the way that Amlet works is it actually creates a digital fingerprint using a standard that was created by one of the founders, the ISCC, which is the International Standard Content Code. And what that does is, like, you can take your book and it can absorb it and create a code. It doesn't keep all the text, but it creates a unique code so that you can tell if anything is substantially similar to it. Even like the French language edition of it is substantially similar to it. The machine can tell that these two things are related, as opposed to like an ISBN. As you say, ISBN is manually applied and most people don't fill in the metadata in the ISBN database. So, you have that problem that it doesn't really relate to anything.
Great. I think that makes perfect sense. But assuming I was an author, or Imna is an author, she has written her book, she wants to use you, how would she get involved with Amlet? What would be the first 3 steps?
Yeah, you can actually go to amlet.ai, and it's Amlet rhyming with Hamlet, because our founder had this he just didn't want life for authors to end in tragedy. Very cute. But so, and then you can go, currently you can join the waitlist, but very shortly you'll be able to register your book on Amlet, and you can register for free, or if you wanted the byte by byte, paragraph by paragraph, currently that's $29 per title, and your title will be notarized, time-stamped, and defensible in court.
So how much would it cost? Do you know off the top of your head? We'll edit this out if you don't. Have you done the Lord of the Rings, and how much would it cost someone to register Lord of the Rings? The 3 books.
If you're Tolkien?
Yeah, with the whole thing.
Just $29 a volume.
That's it. So 3 books, 3 massive books, $29.
It doesn't matter the length.
Wow. War and Peace.
Yeah, no, the length doesn't matter.
Encyclopedia Britannica, all 20 plus episodes.
I think you would do what you think, the registration isn't the big deal. What costs money is the notary and the timestamp.
Right.
So data's, otherwise it's just creating data. It's just a few, seconds to create this code. Where I guess you want to, what you might be asking is how Amlet is going to make money off this.
No. I mean, if you get enough authors to put in there, it's on an annual or there will be a duration for this, right? It's not going to be for life.
No, it's for life. The owner of the content owns it forever. And it's blockchain, so it's non-erasable, right? You know how these ledgers work. You put an entry in, you never get it out. So once you enter it, and I think actually the works that you're already citing are already in their public domain, and they can't necessarily be Amleted. But
the intention was I just assumed that it was, if you had a small book it would cost you this much, and if you had a large book it would cost you a different amount. But apparently
that's true for printing, but not for no. But you could make a lot more money when you'd have a lot more tokens included in Tolkien, just to be jokey. But yes, more tokens. And so what Amlet is going to have is a licensing agency, and they will take a percentage on the sales. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be anyone out there who wants to start a licensing agency using the Amlet technology. That's available too. You can work with our people and license the technology and run your own licensing agency as well if you have the relationships with these companies.
Super. Okay, well that's enough for me. I will stop. I'll stop asking ridiculous questions.
That's a good question.
Imna, would you like to finish us off with? I think we've got one last question there.
Yeah, we've got one last question, and I do also want to commend you for your use of many puns that you've been slipping in. Um, and thinking about what's in a name, do you imagine that the author's name on a book cover will someday mean something different? And maybe AI could shape that in a way?
I love that question. I mean, maybe we'll have more like authored by the bot. I think, what's really interesting to me is that authors are more important than publishers. I mean, publishers, like Random House, nobody cares it was Random House. They care it was this author. And that is always going to matter. But I do think that instead of like an ISBN, or there may still be a barcode, that there will be a symbol on the book saying, this is your Amlet or your registry.
Wow. So Amlet there is almost like a verb. Like you also used it as amleted earlier. Interesting. Well, folks, you heard it here first. It was on incongruent, just saying, putting that out there. But thank you, Julie, for your time today. It's been super amazing to talk to you. I think it's very clear that you're really thinking of a future where authors can be protected and their content can actually be put out there and reach many people without facing the risk of having it stolen by AI, but rather um, Amlet is now a way to kind of enforce that creativity with the safe guardrails running alongside it. So that was really insightful, Julie. Thank you for your time today. And maybe Steve can close us out.
Okay. Yes, miss. I will do so. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a thumbs up, a like, wherever it is possible. Please follow us, subscribe. We've got another dozen, perhaps, new episodes that are going to come in the coming weeks, all of them on fantastic subjects. If you would like to support the show, we'd be very grateful. There is now a new link there for you to do so.